Go ahead.
Sure. No, Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
since you are attacking our news
not you.
organization,
Not
can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are
is
attacking
terrible.
our news organization.
Your organization
Can you give us a
is
chance
terrible.
to
Let's
ask
go.
a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can
Quiet.
you state,
Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking
categorically,
a question.
Mr.
Don't be rude.
President-elect, can you give us a question?
be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you
No,
give
I'm
us
not
a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a
Can
question.
you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President-elect, that's not
Go ahead.
appropriate.
CNN have been caught staging numerous fake news stories, making stories without real sources, anonymous sources, or no sources at all even. And they make very defamatory stories and reports on the Donald Trump administration and constantly harasses and attacks them this way because they don't have any real evidence. They just go with these baseless accusations which are very defamatory. And not too long ago they had to retract a story that was defamatory because it said that one of the Trump advisors, I think it was, having some money business with the Russian, etc., which is completely nonsense. And I think it was based on an anonymous source. This story was of course fake, and the Trump administration, they retaliate and they're going to sue them for $100 million. So they had to fire 3 reporters. 3 journalists had to just get kicked off because they don't want to pay, of course, $100 million because they know they're gonna lose. And recently Project Veritas have infiltrated them with moles, journalists that poses as friends to these journalists or people working at CNN, and making them soften up, and then they're gonna tell the truth to them. So it's sort of an undercover business to expose this fake news. So I think I'm gonna roll those clips now and for you to see what I'm talking about.
So you believe like the Russia thing's a little crazy, right?
Even if Russia was trying to swing an election, we try to swing their elections. We're in our CIA and doing shit all the time. Like, we're out there trying to manipulate governments. Like, you win because you know the game and you play it right. She didn't play it right.
Then why is CNN constantly like Russia this, Russia that?
Because it's ratings.
Because it's ratings?
Our ratings are incredible right now.
Because of
So my boss, I shouldn't say this, my boss a couple days yesterday, we were having a discussion about this dental shoot, and he's like, I just want you to know what we're up against here. And he goes, just to give you some context, President Trump pulled out of the climate accords, and for a day and a half we covered the climate accords, and the CEO of CNN said in our internal meeting, he said, good job everybody covering the climate accords, but we're done with it, let's get back to Russia.
the CEO?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So even the climate accords, he was like, okay, a day or so, but we're moving back to Russia.
I mean, I understand it's all ratings, right?
Oh, it's a business.
So
it's a business. People are like, the media has like an ethical, but all the nice cutesy little ethics that used to get talked about in journalism school, you're just like, that's adorable. That's adorable. Yeah, this is a business, especially cable news. You know, cable news isn't the New York Times, and it's not even like NBC News. It's. I mean, NBC News still gets 20 million viewers a night. Cable news is getting 1 million. Mm-hmm. So, like they gotta do what they gotta do to make their money, I think. And so I love the news business, but
I find it so
I'm
fascinating.
very cynical about it. At the same time, so are most of my colleagues.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not alone.
Bonifield has worked for CNN as a journalist and producer for nearly 15 years. He not only gave us a tour of CNN's main newsroom, he gave us a window into the editorial bias and anti-Trump agenda of the organization.
I think that there are a lot of like liberal CNN viewers who want to see Trump really get scrutinized, and I think if we would have behaved that way with President Obama and scrutinized everything that he was doing with as much scrutiny as we applied to Donald Trump, I think our viewers would have been turned off. I think they would have thought like we were attacking him. But I think our viewers right now, and I'm not saying all of our viewers are like super liberals. I think there's just a lot of them, and
So Trump's good for business, you're saying?
Trump is good for business right now.
But honestly, you think the whole Russia shit is just like bullshit?
Could be bullshit. I mean, it's mostly bullshit right now. Like, we don't have any big giant proof. But then they say, well, there's still an investigation going on. And you're like, yeah. I don't know. If you were finding something, we'd know about it. The way these leaks happen, they'd leak it. It'd leak. If there was something really good, it would leak.
Yeah. It would have leaked before voting, I would say. If anything was good out there, it would have came out already.
Yeah, the leaks keep leaking, and there's so many great leaks, and it's amazing, and I just refuse to believe that if they had something really good like that, that wouldn't leak, because we've been getting all these other leaks, so I just feel like they don't really have it, but they want to keep digging.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the president is probably right to say, like, look, you are witch hunting me, like, you have no smoking gun, you have no real proof.
Hey, man. We met in Palm Springs a few years back.
Good to see you, man. You good?
Yeah. How you been? What are you doing?
Good.
What do you think's going to happen this week? I mean, with the whole Russia thing.
The Russia thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really? You don't think that?
There's nothing there you can do.
White House spokesperson Sarah Huckabee Sanders has a recommendation to all.
There's a video circulating now, whether it's accurate or not, I don't know, but I would encourage everybody in this room and frankly everybody across the country to take a look at it.
CNN, it's an impartial, right? What's the view of Trump in like the kind of media circle, basically?
On the inside, we all recognize he is a clown, that he is hilariously unqualified for this, that he's really bad at this, and that he does not have America's best interests. We recognize he's justified and crazy. I mean, because look, here's the deal. This is a man who's not actually a Republican. He's not actually a Republican. He just adopted that because that was the party he thought he could win it. He doesn't believe anything that these people believe. The man's on his third wife. I guarantee you he's paid for abortions. He doesn't give a shit about abortion. He doesn't care about gay marriage. He doesn't even really care about the budget.
Right.
The man's upping the budget even though he promised to rein it in.
You mean he'd be pro-gay marriage or anti-gay marriage?
I don't think he gives a shit. 90% of us are on board with just the fact that he's crazy.
What do you mean? 90% are on board what? With her?
No, I wouldn't say with her, but just acknowledge the fact that he's batshit.
90%.
You're
my direct cover.
So would it be fair to question I don't want to be rude here, I'll be careful how I put it. You're at least some percentage Irish, Scottish. Would it be fair to question the intellect of the American voter?
Oh no, they're stupid as shit. I hate to be this way. Now, and of course, the thing that pisses the White House off so much, because we actually had that awful woman, Kellyanne Conway, you know, the blonde.
Who's sorry?
Kellyanne Conway.
What's she look like? Is she the one with
She looks like she got hit with a shovel. So she looks like she got hit with a shovel. It's decisions made by people higher than me, and if they go, "Wow, your ratings are soaring right now. Keep up what you're doing." Well, what we're doing is Russia, ISIS, London terror, shooting in Chicago. If that's it.
We wondered what CEO Jeff Zucker would have to say about it.
James O'Keefe, how are you? Do you have a comment, sir, about the Russia story? Okay. That was pretty cowardly there, wasn't it?
Zucker did not wish to talk to me. That's not surprising. His network has been exposed as not merely just biased, but corrupt and deeply dishonest. His leadership must now be in question. In the final analysis, this is about a conflict of visions between a dying legacy mainstream establishment media that seeks to characterize and interpret reality versus an American people that craves unfiltered, raw, real, true information. No more fake news.
While it's good to see that this defamatory fake news is being exposed, there's some danger to it. But first, let's go with the positive sides to this. These fake news have been spread in this propaganda piece. Because if you remember, when Obama was still in charge, I think he made a law or something that allowed the CIA to fund news agencies like CNN, etc., to spread propaganda for the state, etc. So it's no surprise for me, at least, that they're doing this, because they're basically told to, if this very order is still intact. But something that's very good that have come out of all of this is that hopefully they're gonna stop making this fake Russian propaganda narrative, because it is very hurtful. Not to just these people involved, but to the American people itself. It's a constant attack of lies that are making people scared. Like the Scalise shooter. He was a far-left Bernie supporter, but all of a sudden he went out on a shooting spree against Republicans sitting watching a baseball game. How un-American is that? Donald Trump assassination play. I mean, you should not be completely oversensitive like a snowflake. You probably heard those expressions. Very taunting, but in some way true, because freedom of expression means you can say things and you should not be censoring everything because it might be hurtful. But the thing, for example, with this play is that they have pushed this, oh, let's kill Trump, let's assassinate Trump, I'm gonna rape his kid got a, all of these dangerous things, and you should not really talk about kids in these ways, like very inappropriate way of talking to people. But still, I mean, criticism is good. Criticism is something everyone would love to hear, if it's constructive. But when it's baseless and just aggressive, it promotes violence. And that's what happened to people. They are scared of Donald Trump. They think he's some kind of Hitler dictator. But he's not. He's not made a regime. He's not extending his presidency to 2029 like Erdogan did in Turkey, reinstating his Ottoman Empire, the Islamic Caliphate, and calling for holy wars and etc. This is a man that tries to make his country great again, at least what he says, and so many others would believe. But this is strictly disgusting when people are going to call up for civil wars and make this discourse throughout the entire country, and people are gonna feel unsafe and even scared of telling their political opinion, because people have lost family members, because they don't want to talk to them because they voted for Trump or Hillary Clinton, vice versa. I mean, it's disgusting. Democracy should celebrate that people are thinking differently, that people are having different ideas. Because in the democracy, people are coming together to make a decision of whom they think is the best. And the majority, hopefully, got the better right of it. Or left of it, depending on what your ideology is, of course. It's an expression. But this does not mean that you should censor these plays, etc., where they stabbed Donald Trump like Julius Caesar, etc. It's just to make people understand that when things are this bad, when they are gonna chant like crazies, he's not gonna divide us, he's not gonna divide us, for days, then something is really wrong in the country. When they're gonna sit in CNN and have hours and hours of news reportage, where they're gonna sit there and talk about the one and the same thing over and over and over again. Where they're gonna sit and be saying, Donald Trump, he's bad. 93% of the time, I think, they had negative reports on him. So like a 7% that are positive out of 16,000 reports about Donald Trump and his presidency. And well, I think it also was counting from before when he was candidate, etc. But you get the point. I think somewhere in there between, you have to realize it's so unfair what they say, and very baseless things at times. I mean, you have people, celebrities that are famous, that are calling out for violence, that are saying we should have a civil war. I think of planning blowing up the White House, etc. Or that nasty women's march. And for me, as an outsider to this, I highly like Donald Trump. I have my bias in this as well. But still, I criticize him when I see him doing something wrong. For example, when he launched 50 missiles into Syria, I think that was very, very bad. I am not on board with him with wanting to torture people, but I think he retracted that actually, changed his opinion of that. But still, it's this thing that it's so negative that they won't even see the positives that he does. Only a few times I've seen this. For example, one time when he clapped for about 5 minutes straight for the mother of the dead brave soldier that sacrificed his life to gain intel from the Qatar raid. That was gonna be very valuable to help fighting terrorism. I think that's when the guy said, this is the day that Donald Trump really became president. But that's the thing also. People have a problem acknowledging him as a president. People hate him, yes, generally, and working with this. So of course they're gonna ignore the positive facts about him because they want to defame him at every level. But that's the thing, you have to be able to see both positives and negatives. Otherwise it's gonna be dangerous. But of course I know myself that I have my own biases and I know that many others do. But it's important to confirm them and not say, oh, I'm completely impartial. Because then you're lying and then you're deceiving your audience, because these CNN reporters, they're no slouch. They're very good at talking. They're very good at doing reports. They're very professional. I mean, hell, I'm impressed by them. And for example, the black dude, Van Jones, he was in a very intriguing interview on the street. Yes, he was going for lunch or something, I don't know. And I think he was on a break, but never mind. Owen Schroyer from InfoWars managed to catch up to him and they started to talk. So they had about a 30-minute interview in the street. And that was nothing you would ever see on the CNN news reportage. I mean, believe me, I've seen when they sit there in the CNN studio and talk. It's just bizarre. But still, they're sounding really professional. So it's no surprise to me that they're managing to indoctrinate people this way with their propaganda. But however, you should go and check that interview out, because that's the kind of interviews we need when we have people that are more tilted towards the left, that can talk with people that's more tilted towards the right and come to a conversation. For example, the Rubin Report, when he interviews people from the right and he's a lefty himself. I think that's a great mix, when people can have conversations rather than just having this extreme ideology war where they can't even be at the same place at the same time without yelling at each other, trying to murder each other. Because that's not democracy. Democracy is when you can sit and listen to others. Of course, America is a republic, so yeah, but I think that still counts as democracy, right? Right? Also important note to point out with CNN is that they're very deceitful with their editing.
His family and friends holding a vigil marked by prayers.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
With his sister calling for peace.
Don't bring the violence here and the ignorance here.
Milwaukee police say they made multiple arrests overnight. We're still waiting on those final numbers. It comes on top of the 17 arrests made Saturday
CNN
night.
Newsroom described Cheryl Smith as calling for peace as they conveniently left out the rest of her comments.
Burning down ain't gonna help nothing. Y'all burning down we need in our community. Take that to the suburbs. Burn that down. We need our weed. I don't wear it, but we need it. We need our gas. We need our food. Y'all don't understand that. We need that. Y'all want to hurt somebody, take that further out. Don't bring it here.
For example, in the part 3, I'm not sure if I'm gonna show it or not, but they're gonna have this interview in the studio with this dude, and they had it for 1 hour, and even a bit after they spoke, when they shut down the cameras, they had it in audio, and they said some things that was really intriguing and against the CNN narrative. But of course they decided to cut it out because it was not fitting to their narrative. So you see, they rather to remove valuable information to make sure that their narrative will stay on top. And that's deceitful at the utmost. And imagine being one of those being interviewed, seeing an 8-minute, I don't know if you can call it hit piece, but it's really a hit piece against reality. It's a hit piece against the truth. And that's what people want, the truth. But there's a price for this truth. Because what they did here is immoral. I think this journalism is journalism, of course. I think it's good that they're exposing something that has been really defamatory and fake and hurtful to the nation and to the reputation of America. I mean, if you look at the American election, you think it's some kind of rat race. It doesn't sound like real politics. But I can't say that any country here in Europe are any different because, well, we basically inherit every crazy ideas from America, and then all of a sudden we're gonna see them here. Like Islamophobe, never heard of that word. All of a sudden, it's all over in Sweden. And this has been done ever since the 1960s. And probably far beyond that, but I didn't live back then, so it's difficult for me to say. But what's dangerous is that these people invade privacy. This was during private conversations, during break, during when the guy was taking the other guy in the car, or just standing outside taking a breather, and a guy that comes by and then, oh, I once worked with this dude, I know this guy, and have a nice chill conversation because Van Jones is a very nice guy, and I feel it's like painful to see him say these things, and he might risk getting fired. But in truth, the only one that should feel ashamed of himself in CNN, well, amongst everyone else that doesn't stand up, of course, is the CEO, because obviously the CEO is in this and are gaining lots of cash. Their rating was so low, they, didn't earn that good with money, but when they pushed this Trump agenda, it spiked. The CEO should be blamed for this, not these people saying this on camera, actually. That's what I think. These people were invaded in their private. It's like politicians here in Sweden, Swedish Democrats. They're being attacked constantly by, he made a racist remark. He made a joke about the Jews that wasn't even that anti-Semite, as they say, during a party when he was drunk, I think. And they're gonna be like, oh my god, he has to go! He's a complete disaster to humanity. It's just bonkers. Really bonkers. You just want to bang your head against the wall because it's so stupid. Like, you can't have a private conversation in your home when you're drunk, and if you're gonna say something that sounds a little bit off, or just mentioning you or nigger or anything like that, then you're gonna get thrown out. I know, I make these jokes all the time myself in private. I can be joking with people I know that are like blonde Polish people, and I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, you're a freaking... I'm not gonna say those words on camera, of course, because that's gonna bite me in the ass, though I already said some things on other videos, but you get the point. You make jokes because you might want to make fun of political correctness, and you think it's fun, it's not hurting anyone. It's not like, if they would be hurted by what I'm saying, of course I would stop. If they would just ask me, please, stop say this racist thing or whatever, because it's not funny. Then I would apologize and say, sorry, I just was joking around because it's, easing off the tension in my life. But if, for example, a black person would be in front of me, I would never say such a hurtful thing. I mean, for example, the word nigger. I use it in private all the time when I talk to people. But if I'm in front of a black person, I'm never gonna say it. The word neger in Swedish, it has never been used the way it was used in America. It doesn't have the same historical context, but yet people relate to it the same way. I can understand it in one way, but still I think it's a foul remark of the word in the first place. And I think because people are being sensitive about these words, it promotes racism, because it gives a people a reason to be afraid of the word. You should not be afraid of the word or the name. Like Hitler, Voldemort, whatever. Don't be afraid of the name. Don't be afraid of the words. There have been many bad people with many different names. For example, Vladimir the Impaler. He wasn't a really good guy. He was just impaling people, scaring everyone. And then we have Vladimir Putin. Oh, well, he's not considered a good guy either, is he? But you get the point. Well, you have Vladimir Lenin, communist. Well, there's probably good Vladimirs out there. I'm just saying that, oh yes, there's good and bad people with the same names. You know, the names doesn't make the person. The name doesn't make the character. However, might be so mentally. But what makes the person is the soul, the heart. That's what makes character. Your own characteristics. So people are gonna be afraid of talking in private. People of all walks of life gonna be afraid that someone is gonna have a hidden camera or microphone active, taping and recording every conversation. They're gonna be afraid of like thought police in 1984. For example, when the daughter was listening to the guy sleep talking to himself through the keyhole where he said, "Down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother." And he was this Big Brother loyalist. But he said this in his sleep. So it was a thought crime they could not unlock until he fell asleep. So he had to be examined in the thought police institution or whatever it was. That's what it's gonna be like in the future. People are gonna be just so afraid of speaking out and just having normal conversation and be humans. We need to be humans. It's a fundamental libertarian right to have. To be able to speak without persecution. Not losing your job, not losing your life, not being jailed, not being paid a fine because you said something that you think in your private time. Being afraid of writing a message on Facebook or whatever, and then it's gonna haunt you 10 years later in some freaking election cycle or whatever. Like the Donald Trump thing when he said, "Grab them by a pussy." I mean, what man haven't made that joke like that? I mean, come on! I have made way more gross things than that. But still, you know, maybe why I don't really have a job. But you still get my point. You don't feel safe saying anything in private, and eventually laws and institutions like the thought police will exist because we paved the way with our fears doing this. We should not be afraid of being politically correct. We should not be afraid of having a name resembling some big evil dude. We should not be afraid of being ourselves and expressing ourselves. One thing we can be considerate about is about others. It's simple etiquette people need. It's all about ethics. For example, let's say I'm a racist. I hate people that cries because I think crying is a weakness. Let's say I'm this super strong eugenics guy. I only want the strong to live and the weak to die. And then there's gonna be this wimpy black dude who crying over losing his job, wanting to kill himself. Of course, this racist bigot over here is gonna say, "Well, nigger, why don't you kill yourself? Everyone would be happy seeing you do this." But of course, that's very rude to say. But of course, if you're having tolerance and ethics, you will understand that simply, if you don't like this guy and don't like anything that he represents, you don't need to say a thing. You can say, you know, it's not my problem. And just move on. Because it's not your problem. You don't need to care about this person. You don't even need to say you're sorry. But you can't go and attack this person and be harassful, because that is offensive. However, being tolerant and showing this person, despite all of your differences, you know, I don't care, but I don't have to listen to this. You know, I don't care, I won't attack you, but I don't have to listen to this. And just walk away. Or stay there if you're gonna stay there, because you might be on a bus, etc. But this person, as a tolerant person himself, he will understand that he should not bother you and bother someone else. That's all a person would really ask. Because that's, you know, very simple. Perhaps doesn't sound like it because this guy is, you know, very hateful towards him, but they have an understanding. But in this example, they have an understanding that people should not be in everyone's faces, telling everyone what to feel and what to think. And I think that's what many people need to think going forward. And despite our differences, we should be able to talk and converse about them in an open forum. Perhaps not in private, perhaps, you know, go to a place where people want to talk about politics. So you don't have just to, for example, fall into the pit with everyone else, dragging them like, oh, you're not going without me. Because not everyone cares about these things, which people should, in my opinion, because these things are gonna impact people sooner or later. Because one day you might be searching for a job, and they're gonna have a political correctness check, whatever, and you might not be okay with that. But it comes back to haunt you because you ignored it in the past time, as well with all of the other politics stuff. But one thing that every normal person should do is try to be informed about politics, because that's the first way to help protect you and people you care about, because then you might be able to inform others of your findings. Don't spread lies and false narratives just to win the argument, just to be the winner of every conversation. Try to bring some facts. Try to find some truths. And when the other one points out their truths and findings, just listen to them. If they are obviously telling lies and things they're making up, you're most likely gonna hear it. And if so, you doubt them, question it. Just question it. You don't even need to be rough. But that's my advice for the private person. But we're getting off topic here. Hopefully this CNN with their political correctness stuff and etc., fake news, will end and they will start with real journalism, because they have really good journalists, like I said before. Then we might see some positive change in America, which I really hope, because what the country needs to do is come together rather than having protesting against the president that tries to make America great again. Give him a chance, because he haven't really been given a chance. And people have to be like converted to get out of this bubble that he's a terrorist, that he's a criminal. People need to give him a chance, and perhaps eventually they will see, yeah, maybe he's not that bad after all. And well, if he is bad, just wait for the next election. Because overthrowing the president, making civil wars, that's unprecedented. That's very un-Republican. The most undemocratic thing to do, because the people have chosen. But in the meanwhile, this is where I get off.
Just because of the attack of fake news and attacking our network, I just want to ask you, sir.
I'm changing it from fake news, though.
Doesn't that undermine...
Very fake news.
I know, but aren't you...
Yeah.